Break up the Pacers. They've won 4 of 5. They crushed the Pelicans. Pascal Siakam was awesome. Again, Jay Huff had how many points? Yes, 29. He made 10 twos as the Pacers roll past an inferior team. Much to get to on this weekend. Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday/weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, a win for the Pacers again. They're fourth in their last 5 games. They beat the Hornets kind of handily. They were winning most of the game, but it was kind of close the whole time. All in all, a fun game, a ton of scoring. And for the Pacers, that played out in the front court. Pascal Siakam, as usual, hooping, scoring lots of points, leading the Pacers. And Jay Huff leading the Pacers in total points, 29, smashing his career high. And you'd think Jay Huff would get hot from 3 for that. No, he made 10 twos. Much to get to from those two. Literally all 10 guys who played contributed something of significant value in this game, as the Pacers were just better than the Pelicans. They are better than the Pelicans, even though the record doesn't show it, and they showed it in this game. Outside of a little blip late in the first quarter where the Pels got up by about 5, the Pacers were ahead basically the rest of the game. Their lead got as high as 16. Something to clarify really quick. Everybody talked about this game for the inverse standings implications because this game started as the 2 worst records in the league. There is no tiebreaker in the inverse standings. If you finish with the same record, they flip a coin for the higher spot in the standings. So that does not matter. Obviously, if you think the Pacers should tank, you're frustrated that they won this game, but that there's no tiebreaker implication there. What there is implications for is Jay Huff has figured it out, at least to some extent. He's gone through waves this season, so let's not get the cart ahead of the horse. He was great in late November and then really slumped down, and now he's back up. But he was awesome. Awesome in this game. 29 points. More than Siakam, more than any Pelican. He outscored Zion in this game, plus 13, obviously a Pacers high. 9 boards. That's not even something he's normally particularly good at in this game. 2 steals, 2 blocks, and an assist. He was tremendous in every aspect of the game that he can be tremendous in. And when you think about Jay Huff, you think about the shooting. That's what's made him capable of some of his previous big scoring nights. 4 threes is usually like a big part of his way to 20 points or whatever. And his last 3 20-point games for the Pacers were just that. They got to 20. The defense adjusts a little bit. He's not as open. He hits a wall, but it's still helping the rest of the team. In this game, he just blew right past it. 20, then immediately 22 on a dunk or on a putback, then immediately 24. And what stands out to me about this is what I'm just talking about, the 3-point thing, where in Jay Huff's career to this point, the most shots he's made in a game, shots, not threes, not 2 shots, is 9. All shots. In this game, he made 10 twos, 10 shots inside the arc. He also made 3 threes. He was varied in his approach. And that's something I've kind of touched on with him a little bit of late. Like, I think it was the first Magic game. They lost to Powell at the buzzer. I posted during the game, wow, Jay Huff's been a little more effective recently, and I think it's because he's been around the basket more. And I'm not even saying he should be planted there. He's a decent shooter, at least for a big, although the percentage isn't awesome this year. He clearly can do it. But he's figuring out and has figured out with more reps and time with the team, now that he's halfway through a season, when the right time is to roll, to pop, to read the defense, and his teammates are understanding better what he is going to do. Not that it's like a mystery. They understand, there's some rhyme or reason to it every time, but it just flows well to get him all sorts of baskets. Here's what I mean by that. How many of his points, if you watch the game, I'm going to read through all 13 of his makes. How many of these are the same? It takes forever for 2 of the same type of play to actually happen. It was his 7th and 8th makes that were the first time it was the same thing. His first basket, a putback layup. And by the way, that's my first note of the game. Jay Huff getting an easy offensive rebound putback is not a good sign for the Pelicans' focus. But it was Siakam missed. He was right there. Just put it right in. Then an alley-oop from Johnny Furphy. Yes, that's a real thing. Johnny Furphy alley-oop to Jay Huff. Then a spinning hook shot after faking a 3 and driving with his left hand. Then dunking on a defender in the pick and roll. Good stuff. Then a reverse layup after Siakam busts the zone from the middle. He fakes, kind of goes under the basket for a reverse layup. Then he sets an off-ball screen to get Siakam a back cut towards the basket. Both defenders kind of panic towards Siakam. He just turns and he's wide open. Nembhard got him the ball. The next basket was basically the same, except he kind of acted like he was going to drive and then step behind the line and hit a three. And then his 8th basket just before halftime was a putback off of Siakam miss, which matches his first putback. So much variation in that first half. Then in the second half, he screens for Siakam, rolls. Siakam draws the attention. It looks different than an earlier basket. Easy layup. He gets a tip dunk off an Andrew Nembhard missed three. That's different. That was 22 points, matching his career high. Very soon after, runs the floor beautifully in transition for a dunk. His next three, a wide open stationary three. He didn't really do anything to create that one. He was just open, and the Pelicans said whatever. And then another alley-oop, this time the pass coming from Jarace Walker. So 2 putbacks, 2 alley-oops, and 2 threes created in similar fashion, I would say, where he set an off-ball screen for Siakam. But that's 3 duplicate shots. The other 10 were all different and varying in how they happened. That should not be any sort of expectation for Jay Huff to ever happen again. But he has something in his bag, and it all opens up when he makes threes, because then defenders are at least a little more aware of him outside of that one in the second half, and then he can shot fake and drive a little bit. But when he's got the inside and outside game working, he can be a really good weapon for the offense and add in a lot of different levels to what they do. That offensive rebound was a sign that he too was moving well. Even though the Pelicans completely lost him, he was schmoving, I put in my notes for some reason. At one point in this game, and I'll bring this up in the second segment too, I got so locked into, like, I said this after the last game, he had 20 points, the Jay Huff points thing where he would get to 20 and then just hit a wall. And I was looking up stuff about that. Again, I forgot to pay attention to the rest of the team and was just posting about Jay Huff. And it was like a closer game at the time, but then he was so masterful with the finishing, the shooting, all that as he links up for a lob with Jarace Walker, it's hard to say how good he was. He dominated the Pelicans in this game. Derek Queen and Zion are really good frontcourt players. 14 points and 12 boards for Derek Queen, 27, 6, and 7 for Zion. He was awesome. Yves Missi had some highlight defensive plays in this game. Karla Makovic is more of a stretchy big. All those guys can do things. None of them are close to as tall as Jay Huff. And I think that helped him be effective around the rim. And the Pelicans were more ready to guard other players. And then, of course, he can shoot and did in this game. This should never be expected of Jay Huff, but if he's got the space to do it and he's making the threes, which opens up everything else, and he has awesome rebounding focus, 9 boards, this is possible, at least for him, maybe a couple times a season. He absolutely tore apart the Pelicans. They could not defend him in any way, and the Pacers were ready to take advantage with all sorts of different kinds of baskets. That's what made this one so special for him. Speaking of special, you've heard this one a million times, so it's not as shocking as Jay Huff scoring 29 points. Someone who works for another team, and then 2 people who cover other teams texted me after the game something to the effect of, wait, Jay Huff had 29 points with like question marks after it, which was very funny. Like, it was very surprising to a lot of people, even though he is clearly a good player. What isn't surprising to anyone is when Pascal Siakam does anything good, because he's amazing. He's a very, very good player. And the start of this game was hilarious. It was just Siakam versus Zion. I think Zion had like 11 of the Pelicans' first 17 points, and Siakam had even like more of a ratio for the Pacers. For some reason, my notes on him have either been deleted or I have sorted them incorrectly, but he just dominated the start of this game and finished with obviously great stats that we'll get to. But to open it up, and the Pelicans have the right size guys for him. A lot of games where Siakam is really rolling. It's either they're playing the Heat and the Heat are switching and not double teaming. The Pelicans didn't double him enough in this game, but they had the right size guys. Like, Zion's big enough. Trey Murphy's a little thin, but he's tall enough. Like, you'd think they would have on their team enough guys. Siakam running finger roll in transition. Less than 40 seconds into the game, Siakam 3-pointer. About 2 minutes into the game, he hits a foul shot and one on a driving layup. A couple minutes after that, and he's got 8 points in 3 minutes, and they're winning already. And like, if you're the Pelicans, Then he hits another 3 with 7:55 to go, meaning he had 11 points in 4 minutes and 5 seconds, almost a 4-minute, 11-point start to the game. And that just it's the same thing with Huff shooting, but it's just like general play. It opens up everything. The other team has to change the way they're guarding or paying attention because they have to put more emphasis on stopping Siakam. To reference that Heat game I brought up earlier, that was in Miami. If you remember that game, the Heat are switching everything. Siakam's killing them. At halftime, they adjust. They come out. They're doubling him more. They go zone at some points, and there's not as much room for him. That never really happened in this game the same way that it normally can. But he just rolled at the start and never really stopped, although he did more what you expect of Siakam when he has 24 to 30 points is 6 to 8 a quarter all spread out, right? He's never really a burst scorer like he was to start this game. That is what he was the rest of the game. The rest of his 16 points that weren't in the first 4 minutes really were spread out. Only 7 points in the second half, right? The second quarter, mostly quiet. 7 points there too. But all that start was so huge in setting the tone for the Pacers. But then he did other stuff. The rest of the way, as mentioned, 6 boards. That's great. The Pacers' bigs were generally very good on the glass. We'll talk about Tony Bradley later. 5 assists. And I think that's going to be, in the next 2-3 weeks, maybe the number that I'm watching the most for the Pacers. I asked Rick Carlisle about this pregame. I asked Siakam about it after the last game, before this one, the Raptors game. But I put it in my story. In the Raptors game, his first touch of the game, before he even catches the ball, the Raptors are doubling him. And Pascal Siakam has been doubled before. He sees defensive attention all the time. This is not like, oh, no, this is new. This is a disaster. They're screwed. But not at this volume. And so there becomes a point where you have to learn, as him and as the rest of the team, what you do in those situations, and you get better at the reaction. Oh, my man is doing the double. I should cut here. Oh, that guy's man's doing the double. I should lift. Or whatever it is. You just collectively get better at it with time, like anything in basketball, right? And so his assist numbers, and it may not even be directly his assists, his hockey assist, secondary assist, as the NBA calls it, will be a number to watch. How much does his continued growth in attention, Rick Carlisle said before the game, at one point in the season, he didn't share the exact time, they have a gravity stat that either the Pacers track or someone else tracks, whatever, that, you know, how much gravity do you create with defensive attention? And Siakam was second or third in the league, right? Like that kind of attention leads to other openings if you move the ball well. So he had 5 assists in this game. He was plus 11. He was awesome. He is a great player. He made 4 of his 8 threes. That obviously helps. Him and Huff combined for 56 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists. Unbelievable game from those two. No one else in the Pacers reached 20 points. Not that nobody else played well. In fact, everybody else played well. The whole team played a pretty solid outing in this game, but it started in the front court, which is great for the Pacers because Derek Queen's really good. Zion Williamson is playing awesome. Saddiq Bey has emerged into being a good player. Markovic hit a 3. That's what he does. And Yves Missy's defense was great. The Pelicans have a front court, like a real thing. Their guards are more so either not as good of a team, but the Pacers matched that front court and exceeded it with excellent play from Siakam and a 1-of-1, best of his career game from Jay Huff. Fantastic stuff from those two, and fantastic stuff from many other Pacers in this game that we'll get to coming up here in the second segment. Jarris Walker defense notice in this game. The Pacers breaking it open, at one point. Johnny Furphy doing it again. We'll get to basically everybody coming up here on Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, let me talk to you about DoorDash. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out, so DoorDash becomes your post-game therapy, and sometimes you just need dessert now. Those late-night interviews hit. Suddenly, you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for your friend who's always at 2% battery. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day or second listen. Locked On Pelicans. Jake Madison will tell you about the losing side of this game. More emergence from Zion. Some young players playing well. Jeremiah Fears rocks. His handle is sick. Jake Madison can tell you more about that. First of all, really beautiful jersey combination game. And second of all, just a generally very fun game. I was like, it's the 2 worst record teams in the league, and it was a shockingly, like, always pretty close. Both teams could score. Star power on the floor that everybody's familiar with. Really fun NBA game for basically any level of NBA fan. Your first game of the year, you're at all of them, whatever. It was all really, really fun. And the Pacers were the winners. They were better at a lot of moments, but I think the game broke open for them, and it didn't stay this way, to be clear. But in the second quarters, when the Pacers, they were down to start it, when they really found a groove, they got their lead up to 16 in the second quarter. And that's when the bench really started to take hold, because in the first quarter, the bench at the end, when the Pacers lost their lead, was missing a lot of shots that I would say they're capable of making, like 7 in a row that were good looks. And that does happen. That's still bad to miss shots, but their energy and their shot attempts in the second quarter were great. And the Pelicans went zone, which teams do sometimes against the Pacers bench, and they were super ready for it. Siakam in the middle of it, Walker in the middle of it, whoever, Tony Bradley even found ways to be effective there. Their ball movement was excellent. And so this is in my notes. And before I just talk individuals, I can't even explain this. So I'm just going to, and anecdotes are okay. I like to have stats to back them up so I don't feel like a crazy person. I just can't explain it, but it feels like right now it's so much easier for the Pacers to create open shots than it was at other times in the season. How many times when they're playing horrible is there a note after the game where you think during the game, man, there's 3 seconds on the shot clock every play, and they have to burp something up or they can't get, like, it feels like right now it's so much like either their spacing is more on point or their guys who are driving are doing better and moving the ball more effectively, or they're just more connected, whatever it is. But it's just like drive, kick, open shot, drive, kick, swing, go do this action, open shot. It's just so easy for them to do it. And in a game where you have 7 turnovers and take 101 shots, their third most shot attempts in a game this season, of course it's going to feel easy to do it. It literally was. And even as the Pelicans closed the gap before halftime, they surged in the final 2 minutes of the first half. The Pacers never trailed the rest of the game, right? They just held them away from that early second quarter stretch where that, and from then on, like, they never had trouble getting a good look up. That's how they shot it so well. They made 52 shots in this game. That is their most of the season. Their previous high was 48, right? That's how you win. You make shots in the NBA. But they looked really good. The Pelicans' defense is not particularly good, to be clear, but very impressive stuff from a lot of the Pacers. And it would be not noteworthy if it was just like it happened in one game against a bad team, but it feels like it's been happening for a bit. And I think that is the important part of this. We'll see if it continues, obviously. Is this a dead cat bounce? Is this a real resurgence? Is this related to who isn't available? Is this that they're finally having the same team available for a long time? For example, this starting lineup in this game, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Johnny Furphy, Pascal Siakam, Jay Huff. That is the Pacers' first starting lineup the entire season that has 2 wins. The other 9 wins they have all had different starting lineups. This group has now won twice, right? It took them over half the season. That's shocking, right? So there's a lot of ways that this could just be, okay, they figured out something a little bit. It's the January malaise. Everybody's looking forward to the break. But it does feel better. Like, it just, even beyond stats, like you could just point at the results. They've won 4 or 5. Something just feels better. Okay, let's talk about some bench players. Jarace Walker was great in this game, I thought, even though the stats don't really bear it out. 2 for 5, 4 fouls, foul trouble's not good. Only 6 points, so that's not like awesome compared to what he's doing. 6 points, 3 assists, he was +2. He had a gorgeous lob early for a bucket, and it was the best situation. I think it was Quentin Jackson on the backside, where Jarace Walker catches it on the right, and the defense is shifted left because a drive forced them to rotate down. So now Jarace Walker, this is where he is his best. He is going against the defense that's already tilted or broken in some way. He's very good at keeping the advantage. So he catches, he instantly dribbles forward once. He sees there's space in front of him. A defender steps up towards him. There's a hole at the basket. And he just lobs it up for Quentin Jackson behind the play. Awesome. And some good and bad here. Good. Jarace Walker had reps defending Zion in the second quarter that went like pretty well. And that, for all the things he's doing better offensively, defense is still like for him in the NBA so far. I thought that was noteworthy, despite the 4 fouls that he hung with Zion for a pretty good amount of time. Now, he got cooked by Derek Queen once. That was not good. But the Zion stuff was like noticeable. Oh, man, this needs to be logged kind of stuff. And as Huff just keeps finishing play after play, another masterful Jarace pass as they link up for that lob I mentioned earlier. So the 4 fouls limited his like total effectiveness in minutes, but I thought Jarace largely played pretty well in this game and was part of the stretch in the fourth quarter where they just proved they were better. The second half also is key for TJ McConnell. 2 things key for him in this game. I believe he had his first 8 points were all in the third quarter. All 8 of his points, were in the third quarter. He had 9 assists. His probing was on point in this game. Of note, though, of those 9 assists, he got to 3,000 assists off the bench in his career. That's crazy. That's certainly more a longevity stat, but longevity for a player who went undrafted is crazy. It's unbelievable. That's the second most in NBA history for anybody as a reserve. Lou Williams is first. So anytime you're in the same breath as Lou, obviously noteworthy. So congrats to him. I didn't even know that was a thing that was coming, but he was playing well in this game. And that's what the Pacers bench is at their best when he looks good. Johnny Furphy, notes on him all the time. I could do everybody. I don't have notes on everybody, but Rick Carlisle said it post-game, I thought perfectly. He said all 10 guys who played contributed. That's 100% true. I think I lost some notes in the third quarter because not lost as in like deleted them, lost as in I didn't take them because I was lost in the sauce, like I mentioned earlier, of Jay Huff's scoring run. And I was looking up stats about that. And like, is he going to get to 30 points? What's the most random player in Pacers history with 30 points in a game? And I got a little sidetracked. But that took away a few notes from me. Anyway, Johnny Furphy, he drove in the first half a little out of control. I don't think he finished the play, but he put his defender under the rim. He's had an impressive drive or a new variation to his driving to the basket game, like every single game for 2 or 3 straight games in a way that is certainly making me raise my eyebrows of like, whoa, does he have off the dribble bounce? Is he at the Aaron Nesmith stage of just like totally exploring that for the first time? But he was very eventful early in the game. And then he had 2 or 3 in the fourth quarter, really great defensive reps on Trey Murphy III. That was very fun and awesome for the Pacers to see. He keeps having good defensive reps against good players. And it made for the hardest thing to say 3 times fast in the NBA that Furphy was defending Murphy quite well in that quarter. I'm glad I just got that on the first try and don't have to do it again. But overall, good Johnny Furphy game. Aaron Nesmith in a slump-ish of putting the ball in the basket effectively. He was 5 for 13 in this game. That's not great. He was 2 for 8 from 3, but he did have 2 in a row. Really nice coordinated drives, creating space. I think he's been a little over-aggressive with his drives, honestly, but finishing on 2 in a row certainly felt better than a lot of recent games where he wasn't really able to do that at all. Last Pacers player note, Tony Bradley played over Micah Potter. That's noteworthy. I wonder... they keep cutting to Potter on the bench on the broadcast, and he's like red in the face a little bit. I keep wondering if he's like not 100% or something. I don't know. I think they mentioned on the broadcast in Charlotte that he was hurt or something. Almost hilarious. It's noteworthy when the backup center cycles again, but Bradley was good in this game. 18 minutes and 45 seconds. He wasn't finishing particularly well, but 9 rebounds, 5 of them in the offensive and almost as many offensive rebounds as the whole Pelicans team for Tony Bradley. 2 blocks as well. He was effective and forceful and impactful. You could actually feel him down there and wasn't just a slow plodding rebounding center. And that helps a lot because in this game, the Pacers dominated the second chance battle. That helps when it's 13-8 in offensive rebounds. But that's not something they are particularly awesome at. 20-6 in second chance points in this game. For the Pacers, 20 is just the 7th time this season they've reached 20 second chance points in a game, and first time they've won when doing so. And their opponent's second chance point, 6, is actually the fewest of the season. So I would guess, without actually going through every single game, that gap of plus 16 in second chance points is likely and nearly certainly their highest of the season. So Tony Bradley, obviously, and Jay Huff, and a lot of frontcourt players deserve credit for that. Look, this is only noteworthy because the Pelicans are somewhat natural trade partners for the Pacers, so I took some notes on them, but Derek Queen's not available. Stuff was too easy for him in the third quarter. Zion was awesome early in the game. They couldn't stop him. He kept getting to the rim. That's great. He's super fun to watch. I think that was only his 4th or 5th game ever in Indy, despite being drafted back in 2019. He's hurt a lot. He was awesome. Peak Zion is still so fun. But the guy that I took the most notes on is Yves Missi, who, to be clear, I keep bringing him up in these center shows. He is not starter level yet. He's a good player who's improving. He's probably a backup right now. I do not think he'd be the answer for the Pacers center that they need in their 2 to 3 year window after this, but he is good now. His motor and athleticism is fun. He's pretty bulky, so that all pairs well together. He wasn't like so overwhelmingly impressive in this game, though. 1 for 3 from the field. His block on Siakam was sick, but Siakam said, no, that was a goaltend. It was a wow level block that got called that. So I think he moves well for someone of his gargantuan size and has, I would say, more defense and rebounding upside right now than like floor spacer upside, but certainly an intriguing kind of player. Look, obviously Trey Murphy's amazing. If this is your first time watching him in a long time or in person, this was like the worst scoring game he's had in like 3 weeks, and he still had 22 points. If he doesn't shoot very well, the Pelicans basically have no chance to win. Jordan Hawkins is like completely out of their rotation. He only played 10 minutes and didn't really do anything. And that is Pacers Pelicans. Pacers 10-32. They play Detroit when this comes out. Tonight, I'll be up in Detroit, so we'll have a podcast out tomorrow from Pacers Pistons. Thank you guys so much for listening today. You can find me on social media at Tony R. East and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you very soon.